What's up, you guys? Peter Valley here, and in this video, I'm going to cover the number one pricing mistake that I see Amazon sellers making. Now, it took me a lot of time to narrow it down to just one thing, because let's be honest, you guys make a lot of mistakes. I make a lot of mistakes, right? But I was able to narrow it down to the top thing that I see, and if you can avoid this, you will make yourself way more money, okay? So pay very close attention. Before I dive into that, very briefly, my name is Peter Valley. I've been selling on Amazon for over 15 years. But I did some other stuff, and I did some things and shenanigans, and I did some other stuff, and let's move on. Okay, so here it is, you guys. The number one mistake I see Amazon sellers making is always blindly, foolishly, lazily matching the lowest price. If you are applying a simplistic pricing formula where you're always just blindly matching the lowest price, then you are throwing massive amounts of profits out the window, okay? So this applies to all sellers. It applies to FBA sellers and merch fulfilled sellers. So if you're an FBA seller and you're only competing with other FBA sellers, then this applies to you as well, because just blindly matching the lowest FBA price is also a mistake. And if you're a merch fulfilled seller, then always blindly matching the lowest overall price is still a mistake. Now listen, there are many, I would say probably majority of situations, maybe not quite, it depends on what kind of inventory you're selling, where matching the lowest price does make sense. So for example, if you've got, an item for sale and the lowest 5 offers are all within like 50 cents of each other, and if you're gonna price like 6th in line, you get an extra dollar or something, it doesn't make sense to like price that much above the lowest just to get an extra 75 cents or something, right? That doesn't make sense. So I'm not talking about those situations. I'm talking about situations where you can get more money for an item if you were just willing to wait a little bit longer for a sale, but instead you're just blindly matching, right? You're taking a flamethrower to your profits. Doesn't make sense. I would say for my inventory, the kind of inventory I have, I'm matching the lowest price less than half the time. Now, your inventory might be a little bit different, and so it's going to depend on, what's strategic, and it's going to depend on like what kind of inventory you're selling, like what category you're selling in, like the average demand for your items, etc. So like this isn't that simple, but I can tell you if you're always matching the lowest price blindly, that's always going to be a mistake almost 100% of the time. So there's 4 reasons rather, that the lowest price is often not the answer, okay? Oh, and by the way, this quote, if it sells too fast, you price it too low. Even though it's got my name on it and it's got the quotes, I actually can't take credit for that. I heard that from a guy named Chris Green a bunch of years ago. It really helped me with my business. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so the 4 reasons that the lowest price is often not the answer. Number 1, high demand items are inherently volatile. So I'm speaking specifically about high demand items right now. If an item is selling a lot, meaning many units a day, guess what? The price is also going up and down many times a day. So it would be kind of crazy to just match the lowest price, especially for a high demand item, when the price is going up and down so many times per day, right? So let's say the lowest price is $10 and you match the $10 price. Well, guess what's going to happen in 2 hours? The lowest price is going to be $7. Then you're not the lowest, but guess what? It happens 2 hours later. Then the price up to 14, then it's down to 11, and then it's down to 8, and then it's back up to 13. It's all over the place, right? That's how high demand items work. So not very wise, especially with high demand items, to always match the lowest price. Number 2, half the time items are priced below their average. Now, on one hand, it sounds kind of obvious, but in a way it's kind of profound, right? It's like, well, if an item is, average price is X, it's going to spend half its time below X, half the time above. Now, this isn't particularly useful to consider when we're talking about FBA items because, unfortunately, as of the time I'm recording this, there's not really any useful average FBA price data out there. But with merch fulfilled data, there's tons of it, right? We got tools like Keepa, etc. So you can actually see what the average price is. And when you know that average price, if the lowest price is somewhere in range of the average price, well, guess what? It's going to spend half its time above that price. So therefore, it doesn't make sense, right? You could have gotten more. You could have gotten more if you're willing to wait a little bit longer. And by the way, when I say a little bit longer, I might only mean a few hours, right? It doesn't necessarily mean like weeks, right? Like I aim for most of my action to happen in the first 90 days. That's how I price. And I have a separate video about that. But the point is, it's going to spend half its time above the average. So why would you price it at the average price? Number 3, there's nothing inherently valid about the current price. Now, this is kind of weird, but it's a really important point. In fact, I have a separate video about this, and I don't know if you'll see this before that one, but I want you to watch that if you haven't seen it yet. Wait for it. I do a whole video about how the current price is nothing but a snapshot in time and really isn't terribly relevant. In other words, just because you happen to list something on a particular day that price on that particular day, that lowest price, is really just a microscopic sliver of time where if you panned out and looked at the entire price and history of an item, you'd see like a big wave going up and down, up and down, up and down. And the price at this moment is really irrelevant. It doesn't matter, right? It's a microscopic sliver of time. So, and again, you think the current price is really, really relevant because you happen to be listing it that day. You didn't look at it yesterday. You're not looking at it tomorrow. You're looking at it right now. But guess what? What's more valid? Why is there something more valid about the price today than the price yesterday or the price is going to be tomorrow, right? It's really not that relevant. So again, when you pan out, the current price doesn't matter that much. Does that make sense? Number 4, this is true for any business. You're going for maximum profits, not maximum sales. Most people think this is the same thing. It's very different. You can get tons and tons and tons of sales and make no money. In other words, if you bought a bunch of inventory and you paid $10 for it, and after fees, and when you sell it, you make $10. Guess what? You might get a lot of sales. You're not making any money, right? Because you're selling at your break-even point. Now, business is about profits. And so you will get higher sales if you're just constantly, obsessively, blindly matching the lowest price. You will get more sales, but guess what you sacrifice in the process of getting all those sales? You sacrifice profits. And by the way, sacrificing sales doesn't mean those items won't sell. It just means a lot of your inventory is not going to sell as quickly as it otherwise could have, right? Because you're waiting out that higher price. So you want to aim for maximum profits, not maximum sales, and those are not the same thing. So I want you to remember the formula for the perfect price. And I talk about this in other videos. I'm going to go through it just briefly again here because it's worth reminding you what we're talking about when we're talking about setting the right price. Number 1, you're trying to get the highest price possible that you can for that item, but you're trying to do that in your desired time frame. So if your desired time frame is 24 hours, in other words, you need to sell your item within 24 hours, then guess what? By all means, match the lowest price. Because for whatever reason, you're addicted to drugs, you got a mortgage payment due tomorrow, whatever the case may be. If you gotta sell an item in 24 hours, yeah, match the lowest price, 100%, right? But that's not gonna be most of us, hopefully, right? Your desired time frame, like for me, like I said before, 90 days. It doesn't mean I want everything to sell in 90 days. I want most things to sell, like about half or a little bit more to sell within 90 days. So that's how I price. That's my desired time frame. So I price for that range, not tomorrow, right? And then lastly, you want to do both of the above, the first two, based on an analysis of the data that you have available to you at the moment. In other words, specifically, I'm talking about pricing history data, sales rank history data, or bestseller rank history data, and the current competitive landscape, what your competitors are pricing that item at this moment. You have to consider those 3 things before you can set a price. So all 3 of these things together that's the formula for like the quote right price, right? And hopefully I use that term tongue in cheek because there is no like right price, right? It's not like you can never predict what the perfect price is, but the perfect price incorporates these 3 things, and that will get you as close as possible to what the perfect price is. So bottom line, big takeaway here, if you're frantically chasing the lowest price at all times, you're taking a flamethrower to your profits, okay? So every Amazon business, and this is worth remembering, every Amazon business comes down to 2 things: sourcing quality inventory, pricing it intelligently, and then repricing it often. If you dial in these 3 things, it's impossible to not make money on Amazon. Literally. It's literally these 2, it says 2, 3, like 2.5 things. Sourcing and pricing is this entire business. So that's it, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. Peter@FBAmastery.com. I'll catch you in the next video.